F1 the movie promised us the real deal. Real cars, real tracks, real Formula 1 authenticity. Lewis Hamilton even had his name stamped on it as an advisor. But here's the truth. While the movie looks like Formula 1, the rulebook is thrown out of the cockpit faster than a blown tyre at Monaco. Drivers crash through safety regs, pit walls play poker for race strategy, and apparently a 50-something ex-driver can jump back in and almost beat Max Verstappen. So how many times does this so-called authentic F1 movie trip over its own front wing? Today, we're breaking down every mistake, every head-scratching detail, and every time Hollywood chose drama over reality. Because yes, the movie might have the speed, but when it comes to realism, let's just say it doesn't even make it out of Q1. Now, let's start with the biggest suspension of disbelief right out of the pit lane. Brad Pitt's character Sonny Hayes just strolls back into Formula 1 after decades away. No junior testing program, no FIA paperwork, not even a weekend in Formula 2. He just shows up, straps in, and boom, he's racing. Reality check, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Modern Formula 1 drivers need an FIA super license. Basically, the sport's way of making sure you're not a danger to yourself or everyone else at 200 miles per hour. To even qualify, drivers need to have proven recent success in lower categories, rank up 40 super license points over 3 seasons, and pass medicals and safety clearances. In short, you don't go from taxi driver with a bad back to lining up against Max Verstappen overnight. Hollywood shortcut? Absolutely, because the real Sonny Hayes would have been politely told by the FIA to head back to Formula 3 and earn his stripes. And yet, in the movie, past meets present with zero red tape. But here's the kicker, you can't jump in mid-season, and somehow they let him anyway. Okay, so Sonny Hayes magically secures a super license in movie land. Fine. Let's say we play along, but then the script cranks the absurdity up another gear. He just shows up on race weekend and gets to race. No FP1, no FP2, no qualifying, no official driver swap paperwork, nothing. Reality, the FIA sporting regulations make this literally impossible. Article 32.2 requires that any driver change during a season has to be formally approved, with notice given before qualifying. And Article 37.1 is crystal clear. Only drivers who set a qualifying time, or at least granted permission by stewards under strict conditions, can even line up on the grid. You don't just rock up Saturday night and beg for a seat. In other words, Sonny Hayes wouldn't be taking the start. He'd be in street clothes watching from the Paddock Club while some very stern FIA official reminded him about paperwork deadlines. But the movie doesn't just let him race, it hands him the keys to chaos, because once Sonny's on the grid, he's not competing, he's wreaking havoc. Here's where the movie officially jumps the shark. Sonny doesn't just bend the rules, he slams into them head first. In Hungary, he deliberately crashes, plows through barriers, and triggers multiple safety cars so his rookie teammate Joshua can climb the order. The film even calls it Plan C, chaos, subtle.
Plan C for chaos.
If this feels familiar, it should. It's basically a Hollywood remake of Crashgate from the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, where Nelson Piquet Jr. deliberately crashed to hand Fernando Alonso a win. That scandal resulted in lifetime bans for team bosses, investigations, lawsuits, the works. But in the movie, Sonny causes not 1, not 2, but 3 deliberate cautions and gets nothing worse than a grid penalty. In real life, the FIA would have thrown the black flag faster than you can say race fixing, and Sonny would be looking at a lifetime ban before his wrecked car even got dragged off track. Rigging safety cars makes for high drama, but racing's not just about safety control, it's about how you fight wheel to wheel, and the movie bends those rules too. If Sonny's on-track antics weren't already stretching belief, the pit lane circus goes full Hollywood. First up, the podium invasion. In the film, the entire APX GP crew storms past barriers and mobs the car in Parc Ferme like it's a football pitch invasion. Looks dramatic on screen. Problem is, FIA rules explicitly forbid anyone crossing into the fenced Parc Ferme area before officials give the green light. In real F1, that's a straight up penalty waiting to happen. Then there's the tyre blunder. The script suggests that skipping Q3 magically gives teams an extra set of fresh softs. Not true. Tyre allocations are fixed for the weekend, and whether you limp out of Q1 or scrape into Q3, you're working from the same limited pool. Hollywood clearly thought Pirelli runs a get out of jail free policy. Spoiler, they don't. And don't forget parc fermé regulations. Once qualifying wraps, teams can't just start tinkering with setups or bolting on magic upgrades before scrutineering. The movie shows mechanics wrenching on the car like it's a Sunday morning kart meet. In reality, that's an automatic breach, and the car's getting excluded before race day even begins. Rulebook violations in the garage are one thing, but the film crew broke a few rules of their own, and eagle-eyed fans caught them. For a movie that bragged about authenticity, some of the details are straight-up bloopers. Take the real-life driver cameos. They're fun, sure, but eagle-eyed fans spotted inconsistencies, like Valtteri Bottas popping up in the background wearing Alfa Romeo gear in one scene, only to be seen in a Mercedes suit in the same season's timeline. Unless Bottas figured out teleportation and time travel, that's just sloppy continuity. Then there's the track geography shuffle. The movie tries to pass off Brands Hatch as both Jerez and Monza in a flashback sequences. Problem, Brands Hatch has some of the most recognisable corners in motorsport, like Druids and Paddock Hill. No amount of shaky cam or sepia tint is going to trick an F1 fan into thinking that's Spain or Italy. And the podium props? Classic continuity gaffes. Beer glasses magically refill between shots, tyre warmers appear and disappear like they've got their own pit crew, and sometimes the champagne bottles swap hands mid-celebration. It's less Formula 1 and more Harry Potter and the Goblet of B-roll. Of course, continuity errors are forgivable, but when the movie starts bending the laws of physics, even casual fans raise an eyebrow. Every racing movie needs a big wreck, and F1 the movie goes all in. Joshua Pierce's crash sees him launched over the catch fencing in a fiery explosion, landing in the trees like it's the Fast and Furious franchise. But here's the problem, modern F1 safety standards make that scenario basically science fiction. Since 2018, the Halo device has prevented cockpit intrusions. Catch fencing is engineered to, catch cars, not let them vault like Evel Knievel. And even when real-life drivers like Alex Peroni or Romain Grosjean endured terrifying accidents, the cars did their job, staying contained, controlled and survivable. Grosjean's 2020 Fireball, for instance, was dramatic, but even that didn't catapult him into the tree line. So Joshua's Hollywood crash isn't a clever nod to realism, it's pure cinema exaggeration. Sure, it looks spectacular on the big screen, but in today's Formula 1, the choreography would be torn apart by safety inspectors before the CGI was even rendered. And if the physics weren't stretched enough, the script itself takes even bigger liberties, because the storytelling throws out the rulebook just as much as the racing. Now, if you're an F1 fan, half the drama is before the lights go out. Qualifying sets the entire weekend narrative, track evolution, tyre choices, who nails it under pressure. But in F1 the movie, qualifying is basically treated like a footnote, if it's shown at all. One of the sport's most suspenseful stages gets brushed aside for more Hollywood pit lane drama. Then there's the calendar chaos. Races pop up in the wrong order, Belgium after Mexico, as if geography and scheduling were just creative suggestions. To anyone who actually follows the F1 calendar, it's like putting Christmas in July. And the biggest whopper, team development. APXGP goes from total back markers drowning in debt to podium contenders in what feels like a montage sequence. In reality, even top teams with massive budgets, think McLaren's 2023 resurgence, needed months of upgrades and endless simulator work to climb the field. For a cash-strapped, pointless team to pull it off in weeks, that's not Formula 1, that's fairy tale logic. And while the film frames F1 as gritty, high stakes and hyper-cinematic, the human side sometimes gets lost in translation too. If the racing physics were shaky, the character arcs get completely off track. Take Kate McKenna, the film's fictional first female technical director. On paper, that's groundbreaking. In execution, not so much. She's portrayed as out of her depth until Sonny Hayes, a man who hasn't raced in 30 years, strolls in and basically fixes her car concept. And just when you think maybe she'll be allowed to stand as a pioneering figure, the script nudges her into the love interest lane. Progressive headline, regressive execution. Then there's Jodie, a female tyre gunner who's portrayed as nervous, bumbling and botching pit stops, playing straight into the old she doesn't belong here stereotype. Real-life F1 pit crews are hyper-drilled units where mistakes cost championships, and women have proven themselves in those roles without being punchlines. So instead of moving representation forward, the film kind of trips over its own feet, and in a sport finally opening doors to women in engineering, strategy and operations, that feels more outdated than cinematic. And despite all of that, the movie isn't a total disaster, it's just playing in a different lane, less realism, more fantasy. So There it is. F1 the movie might roar like a V10, but under the hood it's pure Hollywood. From a 50-something combat that skips the super license, to safety car chaos straight out of Crashgate fan fiction, to pit lane blunders and cartoon-level fireballs, it's less Formula 1 and more Formula fun. That doesn't make it worthless though. If you want spectacle, it's a shiny popcorn rocket. But if you came looking for authenticity, stick to Senna or Schumacher, because this isn't realism, it's cosplay on wheels. Now, what broke immersion for you the most? The busted rules, the physics-defying crashes, or the lazy continuity errors? Drop it in the comments, hit like if you spotted your own favourite blunder, and subscribe if you love F1, whether it's fact or fantasy.